On the Fringe with Dan Radio Style. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. Well, the big day finally came. Obviously, you've probably heard that we did, in fact, bomb the nuclear sites in Iran. Should be a reasonably short show today. I want to get into it and then get things moving as far as some of the other stuff. Got to start getting music put together for the coming show and everything. But we've got a lot to talk about. I've got some video to share with what the Pentagon was saying this morning. I've got Trump's statement, I think, as of last night. And what we know thus far. I mean, again, there's all sorts of talk and rhetoric. We'll get there. It's not it's not going to be a real long show, which you probably realized the second you looked at the thumbnail or the video itself. You're like, dude, this is much shorter than Dan usually does. Yeah, today it's a treat for all of us. This is just powerful. Karaoke superstar doing Nessun Duna. I think I said that right. Yeah, did I? Where is it? Is it Nessun? Yeah, there it is. Nessun Dorma. Dorma, not Duna. Whatever. Close enough. Check it out. Right? Damn, that was pretty freaking good. I thought anyways. Just for some random dude at karaoke night. Holy crap. That's fantastic. Real quick, want to talk about probably my favorite product that I'm currently talking about on this program. Healthy Home's incredible. I keep hearing from more and more people how well it's working for them. Stem cells, like people that have injuries, like me, shoulder. I dislocated a shoulder when I was younger. It was hurting when I was working out. It was just something that was annoying to me. Started taking Stem Active. I don't know, within 3 weeks I was working out and I'm like, hey, wait a minute, it doesn't hurt. Why is that? And I'm telling you, the Stem Active's made a huge difference. Also, the collagen peptides is another big one too when it comes to healing joints, sagging skin, stuff like that. Incredible product. Stem cells for healing, the Amaze or the collagen peptides. For skin, joints. Again, this is another one of the ones, hair. My girlfriend's loving this stuff for her hair right now. Another good friend, Laura, I've talked about, the police officer. She immediately noticed a difference. She was having people asking her, why does your skin look so radiant? This was it. I gave her a box because I wanted her to try it. And she fell in love with it. And was getting comments all over the place. One of the friends of the channel, T. Jardine, great lady, Tanya, wonderful lady, she's going to be trying the balance. So I'm very much looking forward. She'll be the first person that I can actually ask that's kind of like a friend and be like, hey, how's this working? So I know they're going to be picking up some of the balance. And this is, when you're having troubles with your temperature in your bodies, ladies, when you maybe start getting a little older, I don't really want to say it. I wouldn't say it straight to your face, of course, because you never ask a lady your age. But a lot of ladies, when they are going through that change, it's a very weird and awkward time. Not like I understand it, but I've got friends that do talk to me. And this is a powerful plant-based. There's no hormones in it whatsoever. It helps your body move through this process healthily without hormones. And it's a transdermal lotion. You put a little bit on your wrist, you rub your wrists together, and I've heard all sorts of people talk about how great it is, at least testimonies, right? I'm going to have my first person that I know telling me what they think, and I'm going to be finding out very soon. In fact, probably when I get out to Houston, be one of the individuals I'll be seeing out there. Hopefully, she's already been trying it for a little period of time while we're out there. Prime, one of my favorite energy supplements that's out there. Nitric oxide booster. It helps expand your vessels. You're going to be working out. You're going to be doing anything along those lines. This is a very powerful product. Going to give you more energy, and you will actually notice the difference within minutes. And it's delicious, by the way. Stem Active for pets. Same concept for your pets. Pets need healing too. Maybe they've had surgery. Maybe they've got arthritis. Maybe they've got some issues going on, skin stuff, whatever. Dogs and cats have all sorts of weird stuff that can sometimes affect them. Stem Active for pets, powerful product. And it's actually pretty inexpensive in the big picture for what you're giving your pet and how it helps them. And it's just a daily chewable. That's all it is. Very easy stuff for them. I don't know if it tastes like liver or what it tastes like, but people are raving about what they've noticed with their pets. Obviously, your pets don't talk to you, but you'll notice they're walking better. You notice they seem to act a little younger. You're going to notice all those things. Go to danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. That's danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. danradiostyle.com. Make those healthy choices, and you will start to see healthy differences and healthy improvements in your life. That's right, danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. All right, let's get into Iran. Now, Trump says U.S. intel assessments of Iran's nuclear program was wrong. Now, Tulsi Gabbard has come out and talked about this. First off, this was an interview Tulsi did back in March, and she was talking about assessments that dated back even further than that. But this is something that the press continues to try to bring up to Trump, and Trump's like, I didn't care what she says. Doesn't matter. I know better. I know what's up. And Tulsi's a little miffed because this is sort of being taken out of context, and it's being used to try to divide her away from the administration. And Tulsi's a loved part of this administration. Trump's basically, members have come out. I think it was J.D. Vance that came out and said, look, no, she's awesome. She's on track. Don't worry about it. Everything's groovy. Now, I will say, there was people that were part of the cabinet meeting or whatever it was for when the war was happening. I forget what they call when they're the war room when they're together. They said that Tulsi wasn't there. I'm not sure the director of national intelligence necessarily needs to be. Maybe, but some are saying they didn't see her in the photos. Whatever the case is, they're trying to divide, and it's not going to work. And all that's just wanted to start there because it's frankly a bunch of crap. Okay. Here was Trump's statement from last night after the attacks first occurred. I think at this point, the bombers were basically outside of Iranian airspace and had successfully dropped their munitions as well as the Tomahawks that we've come to find out. And we'll get there in a sec.
Thank you very much. A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying, death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin-Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel. And God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now, his warning to Iran is very, very strong. And so far, that we know, and we'll get there too, but Iran has not attacked any of our interests yet. They certainly, right out of the gate, did a quick attack towards Israel. We'll get there with the specifics and actually hit him pretty hard. I wanted to point this out mostly just because Hannity's wrong. I feel so good. We're going to actually play the truth right after we listen to the fiction. Check it out.
With this Fox News alert, I just spoke to the President of the United States. I have some new information and breaking details to share about tonight's what is historic air campaign. Now, tonight, Iran's nuclear ambitions, they are officially dead. It appears the United States just completely obliterated Iran's top secret Fordo nuclear facility with 6 huge bunker buster bombs. It was originally speculated that you would only need 2. It turns out they used 5 to 6 dropped from America's stealth B-2 bombers. And that's not all. 2 other major Iranian nuclear sites, Natanz and Esfahan, were wiped out with 30 Tomahawk missiles launched by American submarines some 400 miles away. Everyone is out of harm's way for now. That does not mean that American assets in the region are not at risk, and we are monitoring the Iranian response or potential response all throughout the night. We expect the president will be speaking sometime either in this hour or in the next hour. In a statement the president posted.
There was not 6. There was, in fact, 14 is what we will now find out when we... it was kind of funny because I woke up this morning and I was starting to pull news, and it was, I don't know, probably 4:50 something in the morning. And I finished listening to Trump's speech, and he's like, well, they'll be live at 8 o'clock Sunday morning. I'm like, oh, it's Sunday morning, and it's almost 8 o'clock Eastern. Sweet. So I managed to record the Raising Cane's, General Raising Cane, and what he was talking about, and I think it's pretty good stuff. Check it out.
At midnight Friday into Saturday morning, a large B-2 strike package comprised of bombers launched from the continental United States. As part of a plan to maintain tactical surprise, part of the package proceeded to the west and into the Pacific as a decoy, a deception effort known only to an extremely small number of planners and key leaders here in Washington and in Tampa. The main strike package, comprised of 7 B-2 Spirit bombers, each with 2 crew members, proceeded quietly to the east with minimal communications. Throughout the 18-hour flight into the target area, the aircraft completed multiple in-flight refuelings. Once over land, the B-2s linked up with escort and support aircraft in a complex, tightly timed maneuver requiring exact synchronization across multiple platforms in a narrow piece of airspace, all done with minimal communications. This type of integration is exactly what our joint force does better than anyone else in the world. At approximately 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time last night, and just prior to the strike package entering Iran, a U.S. submarine in the Central Command Area of Responsibility launched more than 24 Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles against key surface infrastructure targets at Esfahan. As the Operation Midnight Hammer strike package entered Iranian airspace, the U.S. employed several deception tactics, including decoys, as the 4th and 5th generation aircraft pushed out in front of the strike package at high altitude and high speed, sweeping in front of the package for enemy fighters and surface-to-air missile threats. The strike package was supported by U.S. Strategic Command, U.S. Transportation Command, U.S. Cyber Command, U.S. Space Command, U.S. Space Force, and U.S. European Command. As the strike package approached Fordo and Natanz, the U.S. protection package employed high-speed suppression weapons to ensure safe passage of the strike package, with fighter assets employing preemptive suppressing fires against any potential Iranian surface-to-air threats. We are currently unaware of any shots fired at the U.S. strike package on the way in. At approximately 6:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2:10 a.m. Iran time, the lead B-2 dropped 2 GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator weapons on the first of several aim points at Fordo. As the President stated last night, the remaining bombers then hit their targets as well, with a total of 14 MOPs dropped against 2 nuclear target areas. All 3 Iranian nuclear infrastructure targets were struck between 6:40 p.m. and 7:05 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, that's about 2:10 in the morning local time in Iran, with the Tomahawk missiles being the last to strike at Esfahan to ensure we retain the element of surprise throughout the operation. Following weapons release, the Midnight Hammer strike package exited Iranian airspace and the package began its return home. We are unaware of any shots fired at the package on the way out. Iran's fighters did not fly, and it appears that Iran's surface-to-air missile systems did not see us. Throughout the mission, we retained the element of surprise. In total, U.S. forces employed approximately 75 precision-guided weapons during this operation. This included, as the President stated last night, 14 30,000-pound GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators, marking the first ever operational use of this weapon. I know that battle damage is of great interest. Final battle damage will take some time, but initial battle damage assessments indicate that all 3 sites sustained extremely severe damage and destruction. More than 125 U.S. aircraft participated in this mission, including B-2 stealth bombers, multiple flights of 4th and 5th generation fighters, dozens and dozens of air refueling tankers, a guided missile submarine, and a full array of intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance aircraft, as well as hundreds of maintenance and operational professionals. As the Secretary said, this was the largest B-2 operational strike in U.S. history and the second longest B-2 mission ever flown, exceeded only by those in the days following 9/11. Well prior to the strike, General Kurilla elevated force protection measures across the region, especially in Iraq, Syria, and the Gulf. Our forces remain on high alert and are fully postured to respond to any Iranian retaliation or proxy attacks, which would be an incredibly poor choice. We will defend ourselves. The safety of our service members and civilians remains our highest priority. This mission demonstrates the unmatched reach, coordination, and capability of the United States military. In just a matter of weeks, this went from strategic planning to global execution. This operation underscores the unmatched capabilities and global reach of the United States military. As the President clearly said last night, no other military in the world could have done this. I join the President and the Secretary in being incredibly proud of the air crews, naval forces, cyber operators, planners, and support teams, and commanders who made this mission possible. It is their skill, discipline, and teamwork that makes this operation possible. I am particularly proud of our discipline related to operational security, something that was of great concern to the President, the Secretary, General Kurilla, and me, and we will continue to focus on this. As we stand here this morning, many assets are still airborne, and we have hundreds deployed. I ask that we keep our warfighters on their way home and our deployed service member in our thoughts. Our joint force remains ready to defend the United States, our troops, and our interests in the region. Thank you very much.
14 bunker busters. Each one of those bunker busters is said to cost $500 million. That's $7 billion that we just spent to basically shut down the nuclear site down there. Now, again, was it worth it? Of course. Of course it was worth it. And so, again, very, very crazy stuff going on. So Israel strikes Iran, their Isfahan nuclear facility amid the escalating war. So, again, they're hitting it too. There was a lot of attacks that have been going on back and forth. I think they're trying to help us out with in some regards. Obviously, we sent a bunch of cruise missiles as well. Rasmussen polls did actually show that the president did have a huge amount of support for airstrikes. Not boots on the ground, which I don't think any of us would support, nor Trump for that matter. So Rasmussen does agree with a lot of what we're talking about. So again, a lot of people talking. Again, Trump truthed out. We have completed our very successful attack on 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan. All planes are now outside the Iran airspace. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site. Fordo, all planes are safely on their way home, so congratulations again. Speaker Johnson put out on a truth. Or he posted on Twitter, I should say, or X, whatever the shit. The military operations in Iran should serve as a clear reminder to our adversaries and allies that President Trump means what he says. The president gave Iran's leader every opportunity to make a deal, but Iran refused to commit to a nuclear disarmament agreement. Tom Cotton. Iran has waged a war of terror against the United States for 46 years. We could never allow Iran to get nuclear weapons. God bless our brave troops. President Trump made the right call, and the Ayatollahs should recall his warning not to target Americans. Rep. Rick Crawford put this out. As I have said multiple times recently, I regret that Iran has brought the world to this point. That said, I am thankful President Trump understood that the red line articulated by presidents of both parties for decades was real. The United States and our allies, including Israel, are making it clear that the world would never accept Iran's development of nuclear weapons. I've been in touch with the White House before this action and will continue to track developments closely with them in the coming days. I commend President Trump for taking decisive action, and I am grateful to the U.S. service members who carried out these precise and successful strikes. I continue to pray for the safety of the forces engaged in protecting the world. Barack Ravid put out, President Trump tells me in a phone call, we had great success tonight. Your Israel is much safer now. And John Fetterman, the only Democrat that came out in support, said, as long as I've maintained this was the correct move by POTUS, Iran is the world's leading sponsor of terrorism and cannot have nuclear capabilities. I'm grateful and salute the finest military in the world. Dude's awesome. Love that dude. Colin Rugg posted this. Sean Hannity says, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. I already played that. So yeah. Of course, Chuck Schumer, he's against the attack on Iran. In fact, I think we've got people calling for him to be impeached. Andrew Desiderio, whatever the hell. Schumer, a longtime Iran hawk, comes out against Trump's strikes, accusing POTUS of erratic threats and no strategy. Also announces he'll support a war powers vote. Yeah, it's not going to happen like that. You're not in charge, buddy. And then Schumer, of course, and this was back a while. Yeah, June 2nd, so we're not even going to play with that. Hakeem Jeffries had problems with Trump's attack, and I'm sure it took him about 4 hours to say 3 sentences. So his statement on Donald Trump's unilateral military action, don't particularly care, but like I said, it would have taken him, I don't know, about 20 minutes to read these 3 paragraphs easily, speaking 2 words at a time with nice long pauses in between. Thomas Massie, the biggest douche, wow, not the biggest, one of the many biggest douche holes on the planet right now. A libertarian-leaning piece of shit. Well, Trump had something to say about that, too. In fact, let's pull that right here is where that should be. Donald Trump truth. Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky. See? Kentucky. What's going on, Kentucky? What's going on with you guys? Right? There's apparently a woman there that's really awesome. Neil Diamond sang about it, but I don't know what the fuck's going on with the rest of you guys. Let's see. We got Rand Paul. We got Mitch McConnell. Thomas Massie. What's going on? Anyway, Thomas Massie of Kentucky is not MAGA, even though he likes to say he is. Actually, MAGA doesn't want him, damn straight. Doesn't know him and doesn't respect him. He is a negative force who almost always votes no matter how good something may be. He's simple-minded grandstander who thinks it's good politics for Iran to have the highest level nuclear weapons, while at the same time yelling death to America at every chance they get. Iran has killed and maimed thousands of Americans and even took over the American embassy in Tehran under the Carter administration. He had a spectacular military success yesterday, taking the bomb right out of their hands, and they would use it if they could, but as usual, and despite all the praise and accolades received, this lightweight congressman is against what was so brilliantly achieved last night in Iran. Massey is weak, ineffective, and votes no on virtually everything put before him. Rand Paul Jr., no matter how good something may be. He is disrespectful to our great military and all that they stand for, not even acknowledging their brilliance and bravery in yesterday's attack, which was a total and complete win. Massey should drop his fake act and start putting America first, but he doesn't know how to get there. He doesn't have a clue. He'll undoubtedly vote against the great big beautiful bill, even though non-passage means a 68% tax increase for everybody, and many things far worse than that. MAGA should drop this pathetic loser, Tom Massey, like the plague. The good news is that we will have a wonderful American patriot running against him in the Republican primary, and I'll be out in Kentucky campaigning really hard. MAGA is not MAGA is not about lazy, grandstanding, non-productive politicians, of which Thomas Massey is definitely one. Thank you to our incredible military for the amazing job they did last night. It was really special. Make America great again and again. It's the fact that I was right about Thomas Massey all along. The guy's a pile of trash. Senator Lindsey Graham, in a Sunday morning interview, pushed back on the claims that President Trump acted outside his constitutional authority by ordering strikes on Iran. Of course, the war hawk's okay with the war. Said nope, he was within his Article 2 authority, Graham said in an interview when asked if Trump violated the U.S. Constitution by acting unilaterally. Congress can declare war or cut off funding, Graham continued. We can't be the commander-in-chief. You can't have 535 commander-in-chiefs. If you don't like what the president does in terms of war, you can cut off the funding. But declaring war is left of the Congress. We've declared war 5 times in the history of America. All of these other military operations were lawful. He had all the authority he needed under the Constitution. They are wrong. And I think that's pretty. He says we have completed our very successful attack. So obviously, yeah, we've done well. And of course, the war hawk is okay with it. Iranian media, of course, is saying, well, this didn't damage the stuff like they say. Psh, nah, President Trump claimed the facilities were completely and totally obliterated. Iran's like, nope, we're going to go ahead and begin immediately redoing more nuclear materials. Again, this is what Iran does. I don't believe them for a second. We've got some satellite images here of Fordo after the U.S. bunker buster bomb strikes show extensive damage. What is interesting about these images is it definitely looks like they were not able to hit the same hole 3 times, which, I mean, if you're a guy, that's probably happened at least once. That's not it. Or, ow, right? Either way. Still. Whoops. But these holes, it seems like they kind of missed each other, but at the same time probably weakened because it came in such close proximity to the first explosion that probably weakened a lot of the area near it and so was able to get further through. It looks like they hit each spot with 3 weapons, so that's pretty significant. In the case of the Fordo, looks like they did 6. Right, and this is where I think Hannity maybe was wrong or didn't realize he was wrong, is, yeah, they dropped 6 here, and then they dropped another 8 on the other 2 sites, not just cruise missiles. Cruise missiles probably hit all 3. And the cruise missiles, I think, were, well, part of the diversion, frankly. Like, they saw the cruise missiles coming, they're like, oh, okay, here comes, some cruise missiles. In reality, the stealth bombers were already over the targets before the cruise missiles were ever even noticed. This was well done. This was brilliance every which way you could possibly strike it, right? Every way at all. This right here is satellite of the Fordo area. Again, obviously some extra holes. We can see a few of them there, and I forget where the other one is, if it's maybe right about there. And there's also this thin layer of gray smoke. That's why it looks like it's discolored. I don't know, it's gray smoke. We don't know for sure. We don't know for sure if we got all the way through. My guess is if we didn't, we're going to be flying some more stuff over, and we'll drop right back down on those same exact holes. And, yeah, we'll get them one way or the other. So this was There's an issue of the B-2 Spirit, or maybe this is the B-21, it almost looks like, but that's probably the B-2. Either way, dropping one of the MOPs. Big bombs, big, loud, expensive, $500 million bomb. They weigh about 30,000 pounds, too, which is pretty crazy, nonetheless. Okay, we got injuries in Iran. 86 Israeli citizens are injured because of this big attack that Iran did against Israel. Did some pretty extensive damage in Israel. So far, this is what's happened. We don't have any attacks yet, at least as the time of recording. No attacks yet on American troops. I'm saying, and I think Iran knows this, you attack any American troops, you are going to get rocked. We will get directly involved in the war, and like he says, we will hit harder than we have already. So I don't think Iran wants to mess around. Hopefully, they're smart enough not to. So again, here's some of the aftermath after the missile strike. Supposedly, they shot the Kyber missile for the first time at Israel, and I think that is one of the ones that has the larger warhead on it, so it looks like we might have gotten a much more significant boom on that. U.S. bases, of course, in the area are on high alert. Hopefully, they're all okay. There's a number of bases. I'm not going to list them all off. Some of these are joint bases, too, for that matter, that we're using with other countries, and so depending on how they attack and how accurate they are, could actually end up hurting others. So a lot to be said. It's cool. Is the was it E2? Yeah, E2 Hawkeye coming in. That's basically the AWACS for normal carriers. Very, very cool stuff. Iran's ordering the closure now of the Strait of Hormuz. This is definitely going to affect the prices of oil. This was something they were talking about doing. I guess this is one of the few things they can do. I'm not exactly sure if they're able to hold this blockade. It requires them to essentially have a lot of missiles along this difficult part to get into when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz. I don't think they have a picture of it in here that I could show you guys. But that is not, this area right here, I think. Yeah. This is a very difficult area right here to get through. This is the Strait of Hormuz, essentially. And they're closing it down right here. And this is, I don't know the exact distance, but it's like, I don't know, like 40 miles or something from this tip to this tip. So you could put all sorts of anti-ship missiles all over the place here, but at the same time, we'd see them. So, it is what it is. And this was where all the subs launched. They're over 24 Tomahawks. The T-LAMs is what they're called typically, or land attack munitions as far as the Tomahawks go. So, again, it was a very successful attack, but it's had some fallout from it. You know, so far, not nearly as bad as everyone promised, right? This is going to be World War III. Yeah, whatever. It's one of my favorite things. I was listening to, I don't want to say who, but I was listening to somebody who's always, the joke is that he's got to put cream on his hands because he's constantly freaking out. And he was panicking. It's not World War III, Well, it already happened, and it's not starting World War III at all. So, yeah, hello. And it's not going to, for that matter. I think we actually had support from most of the world. In fact, part of me almost wonders if Putin maybe knew. I don't know. Trump, they kept it very small. I doubt they told anyone about the attack, but I think some people knew that an attack was definitely coming. Global fertilizer markets are thrown into chaos after the Mideast war shutters Iran's urea production. So this is going to be one of the other things that falls out a little bit from this. Not cool, but is what it is. Pakistan recommends Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize. This is something that I've seen misquoted. They just quote the actual headline rather than getting into the reason for it. So most people assume Pakistan saying, hey, let's give Trump a Nobel Peace Prize because he just bombed Iran. No, and that wouldn't make any sense because Pakistan's one of the few people, like, if you attack Iran, we're going to get involved. What this has to do with is Trump stopping the Pakistan-India war. That's why Pakistan's recommending a Nobel Prize for Trump. So I can't wait to see how many people take this story and run with it as if it's because of what he did in Iran. No, has nothing to do with that. This specifically has to do with the deal he made between Islamabad and New Delhi. Period. End of story. All right? Again, pay attention to how many people don't even bother to dig in even a little bit into what's going on in the world. Expansionist CCP is running amok in the Pacific area since we've had to relocate some carriers. I think this is just an expansion of the story where they were moving their aircraft carrier a little further out, closer to Japan, and even a little further. They've been doing a lot of testing of flights, landing on the carrier, taking off from the carrier, all that stuff. They're still reasonably new to that kind of technology. Again, they need to get a lot better at, one, dealing with aircraft carriers, using aircraft carriers, and protecting aircraft carriers. They have a total of 3. I think one of them is still not fully sea tested. 2 of them, they've one purchased straight from Russia. A second one they built based off a Russian design, I believe. And the third is their own design. Outside of that, no country has more than 1. We have like 10. I'm just saying. We're really good at having carrier strike groups. A lot of people say, oh, that's stupid, it's outdated. No, it's not. Now, again, they are they're not necessarily sitting ducks. I mean, they've got a crap ton of support with them. But the amount of firepower we are able to sail right up to the coast of somebody and then use, that's hard to beat. It's extraordinarily hard to fly planes long distances. Again, refueling and everything that's got to happen. You can't get fighters that far. Fighters, at best, have 1,000, 1,500 mile range. And you got to put a lot of tanks on them to get them to go that far. So you got to refuel them a crap ton of times just to even get them across the ocean. That's not how it works. So carriers are still a powerful way to go. Are they, do you want to send one of those through the Straits of Hormuz? No, nor would you. You might send a destroyer, maybe, but even that would be kind of dangerous. At some point, I'll be curious to see if we actually do that. I know there is a lot of discussions that we are sending, I think is it the Ford? I want to say it's the Ford that's going to be decommissioned in a year. And so there's a lot of people that are speculating, oh, well, they're doing that because they're going to sacrifice it. No, they're not. No, they're not. First off, Trump's in charge of the military right now, not the deep state. If the deep state was still in charge, I'd be on board with your guys' thinking process when it comes to that. Outside of that, no chance. If a nuclear carrier was sunk, the United States people, we'd be ready to all join as a 50-year-old, run out there, give me a gun, I'll go help you fight. No, there's just no damn way. No damn way. I don't think we want to lose any of our assets, least of all a freaking carrier. That's just insane. There's no way. There's 5,000 people that live on those things. It would just be catastrophic. So anybody that's pushing around that narrative, that's definitely not what the plan is. That's for sure. And again, there's no benefit. We don't want to go to global war. Trump doesn't want to go to global war. So anybody that's even thinking that, it's you're not putting the proper pieces next to each other. He doesn't want that. He doesn't want to go to war like that. And he's definitely not trying to get the United States on board with what? Going to war with who? Iran? Or China maybe? Or, right? I mean, the hypersonic missiles that China has could definitely make it difficult for a carrier. A lot of people talking about sinking carriers. They obviously don't realize how extremely hard they are to sink, by the way. They are not easy to sink. They are very tough to sink. I mean, you can hit them. You can hit them multiple times, and it may not work anymore. But sinking is something they don't do easy. They had to intentionally sink one, and it was extraordinarily expensive and difficult to intentionally sink one. And they're doing internal explosions. They took everything out of it. They took all the stuff that would help make it harder to sink. It was still hard to sink. In fact, I think they had an issue with it, and they had to kind of go back and do something else or hit it with a torpedo or something weird to do to finish it for good. Ex-Russian president issues a nuclear warning to Kiev. It says, hey, look, here's the thing. There's a rumor floating around right now that you're going to use a dirty bomb. He says, look, here's the thing. If you use a dirty bomb, we're going to use a clean one. And if you don't know what a clean one is, he means thermonuclear or a tactical nuke, essentially. So if any sort of dirty bomb is used by Zelensky in any way, shape, or form, that will be met with a nuclear response, because that would be a nuclear attack. They would have been attacked by nukes and thusly be allowed to attack with nukes. I don't think Kiev's going to be able to. I know the deep state wants them to be able to, but I don't believe that's going to happen. African state has taken the French nuclear giants. There's a uranium mine that the French were in charge of. It's a state-run mining corporation called Orano, and that particular mining thing, their contract ran out back in December of 2023. So essentially, Niger has decided to take back this uranium mine. They're going to start selling uranium and actually make the money themselves. So they've got a new company that is essentially taking it over. How this works out will be interesting. It is fun that France and even England, in a lot of cases, are losing a lot of these territories all over the place. We're hearing many of these stories continue to be shared out there. Here's Ron Johnson talking to this gentleman. I always forget his name. Benny Johnson. There he is. Talking about how the deep state is actively destroying evidence when it comes to the 2020 election. He's making a call for whistleblowers to come forward.
So I guess that leads to the question, President Trump making a ton of news this morning saying there's got to be a special prosecutor to look into this. You've obviously looked into it. You've been one of the bravest single voices in the Senate, perhaps sometimes the only voice, Senator, that would talk about this, the stolen election in 2020. Do you support a special prosecutor for this?
Yeah. We need people with the power and the resources, the manpower to go and investigate this. We also need whistleblowers, people with integrity that don't like the fact that probably crimes are committed, that would come forward because they have firsthand knowledge. They save documents on their iPhone or on their computers and then bring that forward, because if somebody else has destroyed it, by the way, it's hard to destroy evidence now today with the internet. For example, Dr. David Morans, this is the guy who wrote about how he had somebody inside the FOIA office that pretty well helped him avoid maintaining records that could be FOIA'd. So that's why he was sending everybody out to contact me by email, by Gmail. We didn't get that from HHS. We got that from a university who's on the email chain. And then my staff literally pulled that email out of a production of about 115,000 pages, pulled that needle out of that haystack. That's what we're talking about here. Now, to me, that was a bombshell revelation that somebody pretty high up in HHS was literally doing everything they could to avoid storing what should be federal records and keep them available and make them available to the public under FOIA. They were obviously purposely evading that process. But that was one piece of evidence, one email that we got from a university, not from the federal agency itself. So you have to stitch all these things together. You got to find those needles in the haystack and then pull that thread and see if there's other documentation. But again, this is what whistleblowers are crucial. Remember whistleblowers during Watergate. Wouldn't have gotten anywhere without people coming forward and spilling their guts. We need people coming forward and spilling their guts. Unfortunately, most of those people in the deep state, they're not our friends. They're part of the radical left that is destroying this country.
Yeah, and again, it just still blows my mind that people can get away with destroying evidence, because we know that's like one of the worst things you can possibly do. Here's Pam Bondi talking about sanctuary cities and how they ain't going to fly no more.
There will be no more sanctuary cities?
No way.
Okay.
No way. No more sanctuary cities. I wouldn't even say 4 years. I'd say give it to the end of the year. Sanctuary cities are over. There are no more sanctuary cities as far as the federal government's concerned. What a sanctuary city means is they are harboring criminals. They are harboring illegal aliens. And if you're tipping someone off when there is going to be an ICE raid, DHS raid, we will find you and we will prosecute you. That jeopardizes the lives of our great men and women in law enforcement. Not going to happen anymore. It's a new day, and we're coming after you.
Yeah, things are changing, folks. The world is changing now. Alleged Minnesota assassin says that Governor Tim Walz wanted him to kill Senator Amy Klobuchar so he could run for Senate. A lot of people, again, here's another article that people are running with. Now here, I want to put the shoe on the other foot for a second, if you don't mind, just so you can appreciate where I'm going to go with this next. Let's say this alleged assassin, or whatever, this killer, the actual assassin, sorry. What if he said that Trump told him to do this? Well, all of us would be like, well, he's a criminal. Why would we trust him? Yet, I've already heard a bunch of people on our side of the fence that are like, yeah, he totally did, I bet. No, he probably didn't. This is an assassin claiming that Tim Walz told us. Now, maybe Tim Walz told him to do this, but I doubt very much there's anything in writing, right? Like, again, I'm not trying to stick up for the guy, and I'm not trying to stick up for Tim Walz. I'm not going to necessarily believe a dude that just shot two people, and then he's like, yeah, he told me to do it. All right, whatever. He was going after Democrats. Tim Walz, someone he used to work for, obviously probably had a beef with him as well. Again, I'm not trying to rain on anyone's parade, but so many people just kind of jump to conclusions and assume things, and whatever. New York is providing $50 million to cover legal services for illegal aliens. So when they ask to raise your taxes in New York, now you understand why. And they want to do the rush hour tax or whatever they call that one, where they're going to charge you tolls to drive on essentially federal roads that have already been paid for with tax money. They want to charge you to drive on them, which I think should be illegal. Like, we're already paid for them. So whatever. New York's a mess. We know that. California's a mess. We know that. Donald Trump truthed this out. He says, I hate green tax credits in the great big beautiful bill. They're largely a giant scam. I would much prefer that this money be used somewhere else, including reductions. Anywhere would be preferable. Windmills and the rest of this junk are the most expensive and inefficient energies in the world. It is destroying the beauty of the environment and is 10 times more costly than any other energy. None of it works without massive government subsidy. Energy should not need subsidy. Also, it is almost exclusively made in China. It is time to break away, finally, from this craziness. Hopefully we can. We'll see. Futures are looking up right now, which, frankly, I don't know. Maybe they're waiting to see what happens with the Strait of Hormuz, certainly, but with Iran. Crude's barely up as far as futures are concerned. I don't know. I'll be very curious to see how all of this plays out. Silver's just under 36 right now, which is still a great price. And gold, 33.80, so still sitting above that 33.50 kind of new floor. And it's still showing a slight downward movement. So, again, a lot happening. Folks, I don't trust their system. I don't think you should either. If you've got a 401k or an IRA, I do recommend you get out of it. I recommend you get into precious metals. Precious metals still have a lot of growth, especially silver. And that's one of the cool things that my good friends at Goldco are offering is up to 10% free silver for the face value of your 401k, or at least what you're going to transfer over, I believe is how it actually works. They don't recommend you do all of it. I don't know. It's up to you on how you do it. They're going to tell you most people do 50%. It's up to you. Diversification is definitely a smart move at the very least, or sometimes just outright getting the frick out of Dodge. It's your call. Again, a lot to think about. There's a lot of information. Go to drslikesgold.com. drslikesgold.com. Put your 4 data points in. Get me my free report and coin. If all happens in here and you qualify, you're going to get this half-ounce silver, 0.999% pure, collectible Ronald Reagan coin. And I think when you hit the button, it's going to give you like 20 minutes to call. If you do that, you almost assuredly get the coin. It's a pretty sweet deal. Also, you're going to get up to 10% of the free silver. You're also going to be able to transfer this tax-free and penalty-free, which is enormous in the big picture. You're going to get this free bonus guide from Trump and your financial future, as well as your gold and silver kit. It's all happening at drslikesgold.com. drslikesgold.com. Get out of that system before they get out of you. This is something that's also being kind of misrepresented a wee bit. The NHS is doing genetic and genomic testing on all newborn children, except this is in England only. It's not happening here in the United States. It's happening in England. So, yeah, the new National Health Services or whatever they're called out there are genetically testing children. If you're in England, that's probably not something that you should be happy about, that's for sure. The Ninth Circuit strikes down California's 1 in 30 gun rationing laws, meaning you can only buy 1 gun a month. Also, California's argument is, look, people don't need more than 1 gun. The Constitution very specifically says that we have the right to bear arms. It's pluralized. That's what the judges basically said. They're like, look, it's pluralized. You can F off. That's not true. So California, once again, another one of their stupid gun laws is being shafted. Excellent. We're slowly making progress. Left Coast's $600 million fish killing grift. Something to do with a bunch of dams, and they were getting rid of them because they were trying to help the fish and frogs and whatever the shit. And as it's turned out, it's made things worse. They had all this like silt and stuff that they were worried about way back in the day, and it was going to kill all these fish. So now they've ruined these dams, and it's caused a bunch of silt to now go down the river and literally has killed off a whole bunch of fish. So the thing that they were trying to protect, they literally just destroyed. And there you go. That's how Biden's green gravy train works. Stupid. So whatever. I don't really care what Laura thinks. No offense, Laura, but I don't care what you think. Dozens injured in New York City after a large boat carrying 352 passengers crashes into the Hudson Pier. Like, I don't know how hard they hit. A bunch of people were, I don't know if they're injured. I don't know if there's any injuries. I didn't read it close enough. I was just like, what? Another crashing into a pier? What the hell's going on, man? 35 people did suffer minor injuries, with 23 transported to area hospitals. Interesting. It's a big boat, too. So, whoops. Oh, and it got kind of jacked, as it looks. Interesting. Timeless. What an interesting name. All said, so much going on in the world, folks. We're going to keep talking. We'll keep seeing what's going on, but keep your prayers up. Keep everybody in your prayers right now, frankly. This is going to be a little interesting time. I think Iran's talking a lot of tough talk, but I don't think they've got a lot of abilities to be able to do much right now. And anything they do is going to be shot down hard. So keep those things in mind. A lot going on. I'm going to stay with you guys throughout the week. Again, when I found out last night that the attack happened, I'm like, whoa, damn. So, again, a lot is happening. Crazy times. We'll get through this. I love you guys. We'll do it together. Where we go one, we go all. It's on the Fringe with Dan Radio Style.